Sometimes the silence in a long-term relationship speaks louder than words. You sit beside him on the couch. The television is on. Dinner was quiet. He didn't say much, and neither did you. And deep down, a little question keeps echoing inside. Does he still love me, or are we just going through the motions? If you've ever felt invisible next to the man you've loved for decades, you're not alone. It doesn't mean you're needy. It means you're human. After all these years together, you still deserve to feel chosen, seen, valued. Love in a long-term relationship doesn't always look like it used to. It gets quieter, softer, sometimes harder to recognize. But that doesn't mean it's gone. Today, we're going to gently decode 5 subtle signs that the emotional connection is still there. Signs you might have missed, but that speak volumes. Section 1. Hina notices what others. Miss Kathy, 63, didn't think much of it at first. That night at dinner, she was unusually quiet. The kind of quiet where your mind is somewhere else entirely, and you're just moving your fork around the plate. Her daughter assumed she was tired. Her grandson kept talking about school. But her husband, after a few minutes, leaned over and asked softly, "Did something happen with your sister today?" She hadn't said a word about it. Not a sigh. Not a hint. But he knew. And that's the thing about a man who's loved you for decades. He notices what others miss. In the early years of a relationship, we expect affection to be loud. We're taught to look for flowers, surprises, grand gestures. But the deeper kind of love, the one that matures with time, is often quiet, observant, subtle. When a man has shared your life for 30 or 40 years, he doesn't always need words to know something's off. He notices the little things. When you leave toast uneaten, when you don't hum while folding laundry, when your smile doesn't quite reach your eyes, and he asks, not because he's nosy, but because he's tuned in. This kind of attention doesn't come from romance movies. It comes from years of watching, caring, and showing up again and again. From learning your patterns, your silences, your tells. It's not flashy, and it's not perfect, but it's real. Sometimes we miss these moments because we're still waiting for the obvious. We expect the "I love you" to be said out loud. But in this season of life, it often shows up in a glance across the room, in the way he brings your sweater when the breeze picks up, in how he notices the difference between your "just tired" silence and your "something's bothering me" silence. That's emotional fluency. Not always spoken, but deeply understood. It might not feel like a declaration, but it is. And here's the part many women overlook. This kind of attention is a form of emotional labor. It takes effort to pay attention. It takes love to notice, especially when men are not always taught how to express it out loud. Men from his generation weren't raised to say, "Tell me how you feel." They were taught to fix things, to protect, to do. So when he notices that you're not quite yourself and gently checks in, even if awkwardly, even if clumsily, that's him showing up emotionally. Think about it. It's not the Valentine's Day roses that last. It's the man who remembers how you like your coffee, who hears the shift in your tone before you realize you're upset, who watches the world blur around you but still sees you right there in the middle of it. He may not always find the words, but he sees, and more importantly, he cares enough to look. So the next time he asks, "Everything okay?" don't brush it off. That question, that noticing, might just be his way of saying, "I still see you, and I still love you." Even if he's never said it quite like that. Section 2. He protects your space, not just your safety every night before bed. Margaret curls up in her reading chair with a blanket and a book. She's 67 now, and reading has become her favorite way to wind down. It's her ritual, her quiet escape. Her husband, Tom, doesn't say much during this time. He doesn't ask what she's reading or try to pull her into conversation. Instead, he quietly makes her a cup of tea, sets it gently next to her, and dims the lights in the hallway so it's not too bright. Then he goes to bed, leaving her in peace. Margaret once told me, that's his way of loving me. He doesn't interrupt the quiet I need. And that right there is something we don't talk about enough. When we were younger, love often looked like protection in bold ways. If someone hurt us, he'd speak up. If we were afraid, he'd hold us. There was a physicality to how men showed love, action, movement, defending. But in long-term relationships, especially as we age, love shifts. Protection isn't always about stepping in. Sometimes it's about stepping back. It's the kind of protection that says, I know this space is sacred to you, and I'll guard it, even from myself. Tom isn't just protecting Margaret's safety. He's protecting her space, her mental and emotional space, her solitude, her way of recharging, and he does it without needing applause. It's subtle, quiet, but it's love no less. You see, at 65 or 70, we don't always need someone to rescue us. We've lived long enough to handle our own storms. What we need more often is someone who doesn't create new ones, someone who knows when to sit beside us and when to leave us be, and that's what Tom does. He doesn't knock on the door of Margaret's solitude just to be included. He stands outside that door, making sure no one else disturbs it either. That is protection in its most respectful form. There's something incredibly powerful about a man who understands your need for space and honors it without question. Not because he's distant, not because he doesn't care, but because he knows you well enough to trust your silences. He knows that your quiet doesn't mean rejection, it means renewal, and he chooses to love you by giving you room to breathe. Many women I've spoken to in their 60s and 70s have said the same thing. I don't need him to fix everything. I just need him to let me be sometimes. It's such a simple request, but when it's granted, it feels like a gift, because in a world where everyone seems to want something from us, attention, answers, energy, having a partner who gives instead of takes, who respects your inner world, that's priceless. Sometimes, love isn't about holding on tighter. It's about loosening the grip. It's about saying, I trust you. I trust your process, and I'll be right here when you are ready. This kind of love doesn't make headlines. It doesn't get written into romance novels. But for many women over 55, it's exactly the kind of love that matters most. It's the love that feels like coming home. So if your partner gives you that space, honors your quiet, respects your rituals, don't overlook it. That's not distance. That's devotion. And if you're wondering whether he still cares, ask yourself this. Does he let me have my silence? Does he support it, even if it means stepping out of the spotlight? Because a man who respects your space, not just your safety, is a man who still sees you, not just as his wife, but as a full person with an inner world of your own. And he loves that world enough to protect it. Even if that means standing quietly outside the door, waiting for you to come back when you're ready. That's not just kindness. That's deep, enduring love, the kind that listens without interrupting, the kind that waits without pressure, the kind that doesn't need to be loud to be real. Section 3, he still tries. Even in small, imperfect ways. Judy, 60, heard the soft clinking of tools in the bathroom. Her husband was in there again, fiddling with the faucet. It had been dripping for days. He'd watched a few videos, tightened something, tested it. It stopped for a while. Then it leaked again, but she didn't get upset. She stood by the door, watched him crouched awkwardly by the sink, and felt something deeper than annoyance. Because he was trying, he didn't call a plumber. Not because he didn't care, but because he wanted to feel useful. To show her that he still had something to offer, that he could fix something, even if just for a little while. It wasn't about the sink. It was about love, in the only way he knew how to show it. See, a lot of men in long marriages don't say, I love you, very often. Not in words. But they try. They get the ladder out to change the porch light. They pick up the wrong brand of tea, but remember that you take it with honey. They shovel the walkway before you wake up, even if their back isn't what it used to be. Sometimes their efforts miss the mark. Sometimes they make more mess than magic. But that doesn't mean the love is gone. In fact, it means it's still very much there. Because trying, especially in this stage of life, isn't about impressing you. It's about showing up for you. These little acts, often overlooked, are his version of staying connected. He may not always say the right thing. He may not remember the exact date of your anniversary. But he's still showing up in his own imperfect way, And here's the truth that many women forget. When a man is still trying, it means he still cares. Effort is emotional investment. No one tries for something they've given up on. So, when he brings home a grocery item you didn't ask for, or offers to drive you even when you're capable, pause before rolling your eyes. Look beneath the surface. That's his way of saying, I still want to be part of your world. It may be subtle, it may even be clumsy, but it's love. Love at this age doesn't wear a tuxedo. It wears flannel and sore knees. It fixes what it can, and it hopes that's enough. Don't miss the meaning in the mess. Don't wait for perfect words or grand gestures, because when he gets down on one knee, not to propose, but to retighten a loose bolt, you're witnessing something rare. A man still choosing to try after all these years, and that means more than any bouquet ever could. Section 4. He shares moments, not just tasks. Gail thought retirement would drive a quiet wedge between her and her husband. After 40 years of raising kids, building careers, and managing a household, she worried that the silence might start to feel empty. But something surprising happened. Each morning, as she sat at the kitchen table with her coffee and crossword, her husband began joining her. Not to talk, not to help solve clues. He just sat next to her, sometimes with his own cup, sometimes just quietly watching the birds outside the window. She never asked him to, and he never explained why. He simply wanted to be near her. That's the difference we often overlook. At this stage of life, love isn't always loud. It doesn't look like grand romantic gestures or weekend getaways. It shows up in presence, in the willingness to share a moment, even when there's nothing that needs doing. We often think of connection in terms of doing. Are we planning trips, tackling home projects, taking up new hobbies together? But long-term emotional intimacy often lives in the not doing. It lives in the silent spaces two people are willing to share. It's the quiet mornings, the evening walks, the grocery trips where no one says much, but the cart still fills the same way it always has. There's a big difference between living in the same house and truly being present in the same space. And for many couples in their 60s and 70s, this becomes the new language of love. He may not say, I miss you or I love being around you, but he shows up. He makes sure he's sitting beside you while you read or garden or bake. He doesn't fill the silence. He fills the space beside you. That presence might seem quiet or passive, but it speaks volumes, because after decades together, he still wants to be where you are, and not because he has to, because he chooses to. That's emotional investment. That's connection, and it matters. So many women in long marriages begin to feel unseen, unheard, unsure if the bond is still there, especially when the physical energy of younger years fades, and the relationship becomes less about action and more about rhythm. But here's the truth. Sometimes, the purest love is the one that no longer needs to do anything. It just needs to be. If your husband sits beside you during your morning routine, if he quietly folds laundry while you watch your favorite show, if he waits in the car while you run into the pharmacy just so you're not alone out late, that's love, shared through stillness. It's not transactional, it's not a task, it's presence, and it's sacred. We're often taught to look for connection in conversation, in problem solving, in shared projects. And those things are wonderful, but we sometimes miss the most powerful connection of all. Companionship, not the kind that talks over you or pushes you to do more, the kind that simply sits with you, exists with you, breathes with you in the same quiet space. That is not the absence of intimacy. That is intimacy, matured. So if you've found yourself asking, do we even connect anymore? Take a moment and notice the chair beside you. Is he still in it? That's your answer. Because when a man continues to share his time, his space, his quiet with you, he's not just sharing a room, he's choosing closeness. He's saying, in his own quiet way, I still want to be with you. And that choice, repeated day after day, is one of the strongest signals of lasting love. Section 5. He looks at you. With the eyes of I know you. Elaine was folding laundry on a quiet afternoon. Nothing fancy, Just old t-shirts and warm socks. She wasn't wearing makeup, hair loosely pinned. The kind of moment no one captures in photos. She looked up and caught her husband watching her. "What?" she asked. He smiled gently. "Nothing. Just remembering that first time we danced in the kitchen." She laughed. "That was ages ago." And he nodded. "I know, but I still see it. That's the thing." At this stage in life, it's not about how he looks at you, but why. It's not desire in the way it once was. It's recognition. It's memory. It's knowing. There's a certain look a man gives after 30 or 40 years together. Not when you're dressed up, not when you're trying, but in the quiet moments when you don't even realize he's looking. And when you catch it, it stops you because it says, without words, "I see you, still, always." It's not the same look from the early days. Back then, his eyes were filled with curiosity, excitement, maybe even nerves. Now, they carry something deeper, something steadier, the weight of everything you've shared. He sees the woman who stayed up with the kids when they were sick, the one who held his hand at his mother's funeral, the one who laughed with him during grocery runs and cried beside him at the kitchen table. You don't have to do anything to earn that gaze. You've already lived it. That's the beauty of it. It's not about looking beautiful. It's about being known. And that kind of knowing? It's intimate in a way youth never understands. Because when a man still looks at you like that, when his eyes soften, not because of what you're doing, but simply because you're there, it means your presence still moves something in him. It means the connection never left, and it's easy to miss that. In a world obsessed with spark, with dramatic gestures and picture-perfect love stories, we forget to honor what's quietly enduring. But real love, the kind that makes it to this chapter, isn't loud. It's not in public declarations or polished moments. It's in a glance from across the room, while you're fluffing the pillows or watering the plants. It's in the way he pauses, as if to take you in. Not because you look different, but because you've always been home. That look says, "I remember who we were, and I love who we've become." And sometimes that's all we need. Not more words, not more effort, just that look, just that presence. So the next time you catch his eyes resting on you, don't brush it off. Don't ask, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Just hold it, because behind that gaze is a quiet history, a knowing, a love that never had to shout to be real. And maybe, just maybe, that look is his way of saying, "You're still the one, even now." Why do we stop noticing these signs? That soft cup of coffee he makes for you each morning. The way he adjusts the thermostat before bed because he knows you get cold, the quiet glances, the effort, the presence. It's not because those things aren't there. It's because we've been conditioned to look for something else. For decades, we've been shown that real love is loud. It's roses on Valentine's Day, grand declarations, big surprises. We've been told that if it doesn't sparkle, it must not be real. But here's what the movies and songs don't show. Real love, the kind that lasts through decades, doesn't need a spotlight. It happens in the dark, in the quiet, in the unnoticed. And let's not forget, many men, especially from your generation, weren't raised to say "I love you" easily. They were taught to provide, to fix, to show love through what they do, not what they say. Their language is action, not poetry. So when he fills your gas tank before you notice it's low, or sits in the waiting room during your checkup without making it a big deal, that's not just routine. That's his version of "I'm here, I care." Love at 60 doesn't look like it did at 20. It's not supposed to. At 20, it was fireworks. At 60, it's embers, warm, steady, and quietly keeping you both alive through life's colder nights. And those embers matter. More than we give them credit for. But sometimes, we're so busy mourning the loss of the flame that we forget how precious the warmth still is. So maybe it's not about changing him. Maybe it's about changing the lens we use to see him. What if we stopped expecting romance to look like it did in the movies? What if we stopped measuring love by how loudly it speaks and started honoring how gently it endures? Because when you really think about it, The beauty of lasting love is that it no longer needs to prove itself. It simply is, still here, still reaching for you in small ways, and still worth noticing. Real love, the kind that quietly carries you through the years, rarely announces itself. It doesn't always come wrapped in flowers or fancy dinners. Sometimes it shows up in the sound of footsteps bringing you a cup of tea, in a quiet presence beside you at the table, in the way he still notices when something feels off. These small things are not small. They are love, grown up, lived in, and deeply rooted. You are still loved. You were never forgotten. Sometimes, you just needed a softer light to see it again. If this spoke to something deep inside you, maybe it's time to look again. Not at what's missing, but at what's been quietly there all along. And if you're ready for more gentle truths like this, I'll be right here. Let's keep walking through this together.